Welcome to Salem Witch Trials Daily for Saturday, August 27th, 1692. I'm Josh Hutchinson.
This is Sarah Jack. Today, Salem's Justices of the Peace examine John Jackson Jr., John Jackson Sr., and John Howard. And the specters of William Barker Sr., Mary Barker, and Mary Marston reportedly afflicted Rose Foster, Martha Sprague, and Abigail Martin in Andover and Boxford.
The Salem Justices of the Peace held court, perhaps at Thomas Beadle's Tavern. When John Jackson Jr. was brought into the room, the afflicted persons fell down. When asked why the afflicted fell, John answered that he was bewitched himself by his aunt Elizabeth Howe about 4 years ago.
John Jackson Jr. said the devil appeared to him then as a man, would not let him sleep at nights, and told him to serve him. However, John said the devil did not bring him a book or baptize him. He had only had his Christian baptism.
The justices asked John if the devil appeared to him again, and he said that he had come in the shape of Elizabeth Howe. She asked him to set his hand to the devil's book, but he would not. The devil also came to John in the shape of cats.
The afflicted claimed that the specter of John's father stood by him now, urging him not to confess. John said it was true and cried. He said that his Aunt Howe had afflicted him while he worked in the field. She looked at him and tore down the fence. His head ached, and he found a black spot on his hat that looked as if it had been burned.
The justices threatened that they would bring in witnesses if John would not confess. When asked, Mary Warren said John was one of the men whose specters she'd seen the other night. Then she experienced a fit, recovering when John touched her.
Can you imagine that? Being threatened?
Yeah, he's threatened. We've got all this evidence, they're saying. It's like with a coerced confession these days, too. We've got all this evidence. You're going to be nailed to the wall. You better confess now. It's a lot of pressure.
It is. Mary told the court that John afflicted her and that she had seen him afflict others. Mary Lacey Jr. said that she knew John at Tyler's house and had also seen him afflict other afflicted persons.
Mary Warren, Mary Lacey Jr., Martha Sprague, and Rose Foster all fell into fits. And John, quote, cried out much like a fool when he was made to touch the afflicted, but they were all well when he touched them.
Hannah Post said that John was at the Andover witch meeting. Her sisters Sarah Bridges and Susanna Post said that John was currently hurting them.
When John Jackson Sr. was examined, before he could even get into the room, the afflicted fell into bad fits and cried out, "He is coming."
A justice asked, "Why do you afflict these persons?"
And John Sr. said, "I desire to cry to God to keep both me and mine from this sin. I never did it since the day I was born."
John Sr. told the justices that he was innocent of hurting Martha Sprague and Rose Foster by witchcraft.
And Mary Warren said that John Sr. had afflicted her, and Martha Sprague said he hurt her throat last night and has afflicted her ever since the first time she came down to Salem to testify.
A justice told John that if he was innocent, he would look upon the afflicted, but Martha Sprague had a fit when John looked her way. She recovered with the touch of John's hand, and so did Mary Warren when she had a fit.
Hannah Post said that she had seen John Jackson Sr. at the Andover witch meeting and that he drank there. He and John Jr. hastily left the meeting.
Mary Walcott, who was an afflicted person and not a confessor like Hannah Post, said that she also saw John Jackson Sr. at the meeting in Andover, but he never hurt her. George Burroughs had exhorted the witches, pulled off his hat and left the meeting, and John Jackson Sr. had taken his leave of George.
Ann Putnam Jr. said she hoped John would see George again, but George had been executed on August 19th. So I look at that and I'm like, is she telling him to go to hell or is she telling him to die? Because George Burroughs is dead and he was convicted of witchcraft. So what does she think happened to him and what's going to happen to John Jackson Sr.?
Yeah, she's definitely saying you deserve what George got.
The afflicted had more fits. Sarah Bridges was brought in and said she did not know John, but Mary Lacey Jr. and Richard Carrier said they'd seen him last night.
Jackson said that was impossible because he was working at Captain Wycomb's in Raleigh last night. He said the afflicted were not in their right minds.
Mary Warren fell and said she had been struck on her head, and blood seeped through her head clothes.
The justices charged John Sr. with performing witchcraft in court. But he denied it and denied that he had been baptized by the devil. When he was taken out of the room, the afflicted were hurt, and Richard Carrier was hauled almost under the bed. What does that mean?
It means they're in Thomas Beadle's tavern, and apparently they're in one of the bedrooms having court because there's a bed there, or else there's just a bed in the open area of the tavern. I was trying to figure that out too.
That is wild. But I'm also thinking how they can accuse him of performing witchcraft in court when they are performing folk divination. Like they're having these tests, these magical tests.
All this touch test during these examinations here today of the Jacksons. They're doing the touch test, and then they're going around and blaming him for doing some kind of magic. The record of John Howard's examination has been lost to time, unfortunately, so we don't know what happened with John Howard.
That's a bummer, but we kind of know.
Yeah, we figure it went along the same lines as the John Jacksons.